Good morning. Sorry for the delay, guys. Technical things on our side. We were without power a couple times, a couple points this weekend, and that always plays havoc with my main video computer down in my storage space. And so, having to get some things regulated with that. Welcome back to Trial and Error. Fearless had some errands he's going to run, so he's going to be joining us here shortly. I wanted to do a quick conversation. Well, first of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Brian. I wear a lot of different hats. Morning. How's it going? Thanks for tuning in. I wear a lot of different hats. I do marketing consulting work. I've done ghostwriting. Do coaching, teaching people how to get themselves visible on video. But then also added another layer to kind of what I'm doing, which is teaching people how to build consistent content systems for their business or brand. Because the consistency is the thing that's key. And I think just teaching people how to turn the camera on it isn't quite adequate. I need to teach them how to make it a ritual, how to make it a habit, so that you can come on, turn on your stuff, turn on your content, deliver, or turn on your camera and deliver the kind of stuff that you need to deliver. And it's not just video stuff that I've done. I've helped newsletters and things along those lines. So I wear a lot of different hats, is what I'm saying. This is the Trial and Error podcast. Initially, it started just me and Fearless talking about how we try things, we fail, and then we learn through the failing. We try things that aren't successful, and we pivot and rebound to bounce a little bit higher. And so that's really what that's really what this show is about. This episode specifically, um, we're going to follow up on the conversation that we had last week about the cult of having things. And so before I get into my notes too far, this is going to be a little bit shorter episode because as a dad, I got summer stuff to handle. So I got to go pick up my son from wrestling. So, um, long story short, the conversation last week was talking about how social media kind of addicts us to owning and possessing things. Um, and it's not anti having things. Like, I don't want it to come across like that. Oftentimes, when we have these conversations, people think it's some kind of minimalism thing, and I'm banging the table demanding that everybody give up your worldly possessions. That is not what I'm on. But I do think that oftentimes we get trapped into these illusions of abundance by people that we follow on social media, and oftentimes we think we end up having to emulate those people on social media because they have all these things. And oftentimes the things that they have are just for show. They're just to show the image of a person that is successful. And I know it's not sexy news to hear. I know it's not the most interesting bombshell of the world, bombshell of the year, but it is a real thing. And oftentimes, and it's not just kids that are falling for the okey doke with this stuff. I've seen adults who are business owners fall for the okey doke with this stuff, where you'll have somebody, here's one that I've seen. This is the scam that I've seen really well. Um, you have a fitness trainer or somebody, um, and they have either they may do bodybuilding and then they're in the off season. And so when you're in the off season, you do rehydrate and things along those lines. And so they'll do a before and after picture for their product or service, their bodybuilding or fitness product or service, and they'll show themselves fully rehydrated, where they're still kind of muscular, but there's not the vascularity and stuff like that. And then they'll do the after picture, which is them fully in competition mode, which is starved, dehydrated, and ready to rock and roll in a lot of cases. And they post that as the before and after pictures and saying, hey, these results are attainable for you who hasn't really done anything athletic in the last 10 years. And that's a hustle. That's okey doke. They're taking somebody who's already in physically top shape. They're just not aesthetically looking like that, or in their mind they may not be aesthetically looking like that because again they're hydrated, and then they dehydrate themselves to their competition body and say this is the before and after, this is what you can look like with my program. It's bullshit. But they trap people all the time because that before and after psychology is really powerful. That's why Facebook will, if you're doing a Facebook ad and you have before and after pictures, they're death on that. They're very, very strict on that because that's a very strong psychological thing that you can put in your ad, is before and after images, specifically when it comes to weight loss. I've seen it where influencers that will get pregnant, and they'll show their their pregnancy body, and then show the after effects, but they won't disclose that they have been pregnant or whatnot. They just say, I lost all this weight doing this workout or routine or whatnot. And not understanding that they're just getting back to their normal baseline of what they normally walk around with and look like. And it's a lot easier to do if you are already shredded. If you're already in top physical shape, it's easy to get closer back to that than somebody who's completely detrained trying to get to that. But that's the bait and switch. That's the social media game. I've seen people do the Airbnb thing where they rent out an Airbnb and pretend like it's their house. Let's see. I know why Facebook advertise stuff. Talk about it. I'll explain. If you're interested, I will tell you what happens with that. I'll explain a little bit of the science behind that, because you've been retargeted. That's retargeting an ad. And it's not hard to do for a normal person. For corporations who have millions of dollars for Facebook budgets, or even small businesses who spend a couple $1,000s a month on Google and Facebook ads, they do retargeting all the time. Hi, how's it going? So the social media illusion, thanks for tuning in. The social media illusion is this. I've seen people rent out Airbnbs, pretend like it's their house. I've seen people rent cars, rent the same car and pretend like it's their vehicle. Fearless and I did one where you buy a big fake wad of cash, or you go and withdraw a couple of hundreds and then make everything else one so you can show off wads of cash. I've seen all kinds of people do it. I've seen people dump their entire life savings into a vacation overseas and spend most of the vacation recording content so they can post it throughout the year to make it look like they're on vacation all the time to their followers. This is the social media game, and this is how they indoctrinate you into the cult of having things. Because the reason why they want you in the cult of having things is because more times than not, when you're seeing an aspirational life, when you're seeing the life that you want being lived out by somebody on the screen, you're willing to sit down and listen to them and say, hey, how do I get where you are? Well, they aren't even where they say they are. They're just faking the funk on you. But talking about like advertising stuff, you may be talking about, you may be thinking about it. You may have inadvertently done a search for pizza near me at some point in time. And these algorithms kind of learn your patterns. They learn your habits and everything. They learn typically, specifically if you've done a Google search and looked up a pizza place, there's a good chance that that ad's going to show up on your Facebook feed. Just because, or you drive by a pizza place that you've ordered from before, the ad's going to pop up on your Facebook feed. That's retargeting. That means that you've gone to their website. Facebook pings you as somebody who's been to this person's website recently, and so then it says, "All right, we're going to show them another ad." And I don't necessarily, they haven't really disclosed the voice part of it, even though I do believe that it will pick up on keywords in your voice to show you, but oftentimes it comes through subconscious social media usage or subconscious internet usage, where you may not be aware that you were looking at pizza or you were Googling pizza ads or something, or you just curiosity saw a new pizza place you wanted to try. That sends a signal to Facebook to show pizza related ads to you. And like I said, it's something called a Facebook pixel that you can install on your website. And basically it tracks all Facebook activity coming to your website, and then identifies the people that landed on your website, and it also has metrics to track who's bought and who's made a purchase on the website to show you more of those ads. And that's retargeting. That's how it works. So again, the way they indoctrinate you into the cult is by showing you all the signs, all the trappings of wealth, all the trappings of success, and saying, hey, you can achieve this if you buy my program, or if you follow me, I'll tell you more, or blah, 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 blah. And it's kind of a fake it till you make it ethos, because they will sit there and sell you this until you actually do the money exchange. And you're not the only person that falls down the rabbit hole. Either you'll follow them or watch them. And it puts money in their pockets if they got a back end system set up to deliver that back end, deliver those leads to their inbox, and they can follow up. So they're basically monetizing faking success. And then once they get the money, then they start doing the success, and they're not faking it anymore. But the problem is, specifically on social media fame is fleeting, specifically when you're in the entertainment space. People get sick of what you do. Mr. Beast is encountering that right now, where people are avoiding his content where they used to search for it, you know, and it's disconnecting. His audience is kind of growing out of it. They're kind of tired of it, but then he's also failing to connect with a new audience. And so he's trying to reach out to other content creators in the space, a variety of content creators in the space who have different types of audiences, and figuring out what they do so that he can fold it back into it and become the biggest YouTuber on the planet again. And so his audience is kind of slipping. And so now even he is doing some of this stuff. But the reality is people will fake it till they make it. And then once they make it, they continue on that same path, displaying the signs of opulence and wealth. And more times than not, they can't afford that shit. Like, they are not in a position where they can actually afford what they're doing. And then that's where you find them doing a lot of these weird cash grabs, or promoting products that they know are fraudulent and things along those lines. That's a real thing. And so, that's the cult of having things. And like I said, when you want, it's easier to convince you to buy. And that's crazy. But when you are finding yourself wanting, it's easier to sell you on the idea of things that you can buy, things that will give you the things that you want, the lifestyle you want, the image you want. Very few people are living the Instagram lifestyle, right? Okay. And I know people who actually work in different industries and things along those lines. The Instagram lifestyle is not real in any way, shape, or form, but people have convinced themselves it's real. And so when you see these influencers in this big, huge, beautiful house, that may be an Airbnb that they've just rented out and recorded a bunch of content in it so that they can say that that's their house, right? It could be because they don't want you to know where they live too. I mean, internet is full of weirdos. But more times than not, they'll even rent out a house, they'll rent out a car just so that they can show you what things look like. A lot of times these people, when they do pranks on the internet, sometimes they're even staged, because they're like, I'm scaring my mom, but the camera is running the entire time. So this spontaneous thing happened to get recorded, right? So let's recap a little bit what we talked about last week. Again, this is not a critique of people wanting nice things, and this is not a minimalism video. That's not what I'm about. Okay, this is not anti-nice things, so we got to be clear about that. There's nothing wrong with travel. There's nothing wrong with buying something that you enjoy. There's nothing wrong with buying nice material items if you like them. The problem is when you're buying those items to validate somebody external to you so that you can show them off on the internet, or because you saw somebody on the internet with said item. Okay. That's when it ends up becoming problematic. Okay. It's about when you stop wanting the items for you and you want them to show other people. That's where it starts getting problematic. And the experience, instead of going on vacation because you want to experience a vacation, you're going on the vacation to have a documented proof that you took a vacation to your followers on social media. That's where it starts getting weird. That's really where it starts getting weird. Internet turned everything into a display case. Social media really changed the way that people experience their own lives. They just don't do things anymore to it because they enjoy them. It's packaged and displayed so that, I can't take a quiet, some people can't take a quiet vacation with their friends and family, right? It's got to be content. Now, there's a business motive behind that, because oftentimes if you, especially if you have a business or some kind of production business set up underneath your content business, if you're recording, you can say that's a working vacation and write off some of the stuff in taxes. And so there is a profit motive behind it. But I'm talking about people that have no business model underneath their social media, and they're just out here for the vibes, trying to build an audience, showing how awesome their life is. And it gets weird. Like I said, I've walked around Vegas with my wife, and walking around, just the hotel, and seeing people coming out of the mall and everything, and people selfieing and, cameraing and all this other stuff, showing how they're in Vegas and stunting and all this other stuff. And then you look at them, they're just the saddest, most miserable looking people you've ever seen. Like, you're not enjoying this. You're not enjoying being here. This is a business decision for you. This is something that you're pretending to enjoy it because that's what your audience wants to see. But this isn't really just more of an academic decision for you. Okay, vacations should be restful. You should be able to rest on your vacation. Um, and I do work on my vacation, but work is kind of one of the things that does relax me after a while because I like what I do. Um, a dinner out's not just a meal; it becomes social proof that you're outside and you're in the restaurant and you get to show off your food and what you're eating and things like that. You're not pampering yourself to pamper yourself. It's kind of the weird thing with the soft life creators where they're not showing the soft life because that's something that they particularly enjoy. They're showing it to make you want it. And more times than not, if they're savvy about it, they will have some kind of offer underneath that so that you can get on their level that they're faking. That's the game. Okay. So, experiences as status symbols is something we talked about. Vacations, concerts, festivals, restaurants. I don't want to go to concerts anymore because more times than not, the concerts are full of people who are recording everything, and they're going to, this festival or this concert, this music festival. This person is going to have a living document of the entire music festival. And I've done the documentary and stuff as a process, as a social media campaign or whatnot. I've done it personally where I'm going to show a before and after, but show the transformation and all the other stuff. That is, I have no problem with that. My issue is when you're going to record everything and at some point you record the entire set and you have all these little clips and everything. It's like, but did you like enjoy the festival? Did you enjoy the music? You posted this thing and now they're mocking this person behind you that's dancing. I know that the person that's dancing didn't necessarily want that. They didn't want to be memed up on the internet and stuff like that. But we see it commonly. People want to record every birthday trip and destination event and these curated memories and things, and they have to be online so other people can see them and they can get envious of this entire thing that you've staged to look amazing on camera. Okay. Sometimes experiences are meaningful. Sometimes they're necessary. Sometimes there's people genuinely need to rest and escape. And I'm not saying, you shouldn't record any of that stuff. The selfie from the beach or whatever isn't cool. But when you're more times than not, I've seen influencers in the space use this as leverage to try to hook people in to chasing this lifestyle that they're pretending to live. I hope I'm making sense on this because there are layers to this. Let me know if this is making sense to you. Okay. Here's the thing. It becomes problematic when people can barely afford to continue the performance. Okay. That's where it starts getting uncomfortable. And that's where you start seeing them do a lot of these quick money stunts, or they're promoting dubious products. Of seeing people that were anti, saying I would never take money from a gambling website. All of a sudden, now they got gambling website ads on their stuff. It's a real thing. Seen it. And a lot of times that comes in the last month's check wasn't hitting the same way, and the previous month's check wasn't hitting the same way. They're starting to see the decrease in their viewers. And because the only business model they have is pure views, is just getting people to watch their stuff. When people lose interest in the thing that they're in the product that they're creating, what happens is they start taking anything. They end up becoming mercenaries for their own stuff because now they got to get money in no matter what. And yeah, your views are down, but you're still getting millions of eyeballs on you. And some of these gambling companies really like that stuff. They love your audience. They want you to put their product on in front of all these people so that they can see it. And that's where you start seeing some of these creators start taking some things that that they were ethically opposed to before, just because the money got too good, or the money started slowing down from one thing that they were doing because they didn't have a business back end on the thing. But yeah, some people are spending money they don't have to maintain a lifestyle they cannot afford just so that they can show you that they are living a lifestyle, but they're not telling you the other side of it. Okay. And it's not because they're stupid. It's not because they're shallow. It's because the comparison is powerful. That's how they get more people in their system. That's how they get more people to watch what they're doing. And if they're selling a product or some kind of coaching or something, that's how they get you in, by showing you this idealized world that they exist in. And it's idealized for you because that's why they're showing it to you. That's why you're watching, because you're like, damn, I want to be on vacation there. I want to be doing this. I want to drive the exotic car. But it's also kind of role play for them because they get to play the part of this super successful person. The person I've seen it do it the most, to the point where it became a meme, was Ty Lopez. Back in the day, man, Ty Lopez was, you know, I have this for Lamborghini and I'm in, with this 3 car, in this multi-car garage. I'm staying in this big mansion and everything. Mansion ain't never furnished. The mansion is sparse. It doesn't look like another human being resides there, but this is his mansion that he's telling you that he has. And he did it to the tune of being able to trick some investment capital into his scheme to take Radio Shack and Dress Barn online. And the lawsuits are still pending from that. So oftentimes they'll use all this fake signs of success and opulence to rope you into a sales funnel. And so that's really the edge on it. Again, I seen Ty Lopez pop up now. Once he started this, hey Fearless, what's going on?
Hey.
He spent all these times in the 20 teens, you know, saying that you can get rich doing his system or whatever he was selling. And he's talking about how that's where the entire how you were going to count our wealth in Lamborghinis thing started. He's showing off his new Lamborghini in this mansion that doesn't look like anybody lives there, because that's him showing his audience he's successful. And they bought it and they put money in his pocket. I mean, that's the game. But now he's jammed up with the feds because of this entire getting investment capital to buy. I'm gonna take Dress Barn, I'm gonna take Radio Shack online, and he didn't do it. Now they want their money back.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Is that what's going on?
that's what's going on with him.
Oh wow.
Last time I saw, like, it was a bunch of like brick and mortar stores that really had strong footprints in the early 2000, late 90s, early 2000s. Radio Shack goes back even further than that. And I mean, it was a smart idea. And if he invested the capital in the way that he told them people was, it might have worked, because these brands are nostalgic brands and people recognize the name. I would buy computer parts from Radio Shack if they were online.
I mean, but at the same time, though, I mean, those prices were crazy, dude.
Yeah, and that's
And
the
that's
part.
one of the things that put them out of business is
Yeah,
because it was so expensive.
well, that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to restructure the business he's trying to modernize and that's what the pitch was. And like I said, it was a good idea. That's the frustrating part about it. But again, you talk about somebody that's been selling the illusion of success all this time. At some point, selling the illusion of success becomes expensive in and of itself.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're constantly selling the illusion, you run out of money. And then you constantly need more money coming in to keep the illusion up. And the money that should have been investment capital to go into the business, I mean, just kind of goes away. I tell people all the time, one of the things is we first launched the basketball training business. We've seen a lot of people where they took that, we've seen people in the similar line, and the first thing they did was start flashing with it, as opposed to reinvesting the money in the business and growing the asset.
Okay.
And a lot of business owners fall into that trap. You get the first couple of thousand in the bank, things are going good, you're making a little bit more money than you used to. Hey, I'm gonna treat myself. And there's nothing wrong with that. But what happens is treat yourself ends up becoming the normal, and there's no money for the business to grow. And then you're back doing all the low level stuff, and you're not really stacking opportunities on top of each other. And when we first started that training business, we've seen a lot of flame out doing that, because they start making that money, and that money ends up becoming their new norm. And now they have to show the internet how successful a business person they are. with said thing, and the show doesn't really make money in and of itself.
Mm,
You know, but yeah, that's that cult of having things. That's the other side I wanted to talk about last week.
mm,
Was there's a motive behind it more times than not, and if there is no motive behind it, then it gets really sad
mm.
because now they just on Instagram for the likes, taking these expensive vacations that they don't really can't afford and don't really want to be on for the likes.
Right.
Meanwhile, I'm sitting there watching my son with his joy of his first paycheck, and he was just blown away. Like, I'm going to get $300. Yes, you are. Ooh, I could pick up this shift and that shift and this shift and that shift. Like it's flipped a switch in his brain where he's like, I can work and earn and save more. And he's not even thinking about what he can do with back to school shopping or anything along those lines, which is surprising and refreshing to me as a father. Like, okay, maybe something is landing with him about this,
Right.
um, about how he perceives money with things. But social media will wire your brain to pursue the thing. Like I said, I talked to a young man who's a business owner, bro. Like he owns a service business that's doing really, really well. And he is sitting there like, man, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. I see all these kids my age, 23-year-old kid. See all these kids my age, they're doing all these vacations, everything. What am I doing with my life? Like, you're actually making the money that they're pretending to have. Some of them are rich. Like some people are just their parents are rich. They can be in the French Riviera every summer,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't hurt them. But most times not. It doesn't. It's not real. So that's where we're at. I think we're on if we're looking at the outline, number 6, when people can barely perform afford the performance anymore.
Hey, there's a new movie coming out in I think either August or October. With Facebook. What's it called? The Social Retribution or something like that.
Yeah,
And do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't know. Let me look it up.
Yeah, because Jesse Eisenberg said that he didn't want to do it, so then they brought in another guy. Or I personally wish that he would have said yes, because
Uh-huh.
then that would have just kind of streamlined that whole thing in general. But
Uh-huh.
so there's a retribution, something like that.
The Social Reckoning.
The social reckoning, and one of the things for the advertisement that they were showing was that Facebook got their data back, which was talking about the unaliving of people, self-inflicted unaliving
Mm-hmm.
because of going to their sites and comparing themselves to what everybody else is doing.
Right.
And then people's, like for myself, even I am a grown 47-year-old man. I'm not on Facebook like that. I'm not, like, even on Instagram, like certain people, if I know you, I'll watch you for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have a friend who's on there, and she's always like modeling different stuff or whatever, and she's a beautiful woman. But when
Mm-hmm.
I met her while she was in college, and she does something in the financial sector
Mm-hmm.
to have $1 million house. I mean, and all the bags and dresses and shoes you can think to go with it,
Okay.
right? Unapologetically wealthy. But I also know where she lived before all this happened. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
I know what you're
Like,
saying.
so when I see her, I'm like, congratulations, good job. I'm always telling her, hey man, you look amazing, like, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because she does. Um, but I'm not trying to compare myself to that. I was just doing a paper, and I was telling my professors, like, dude, like, I'm not here because I need a job. I'm not here because I need money. I'm here because, like, I've been learning. I've been an autodidact for so long that Dude, my stuff is going up. Sorry. I've been an autodidact for so long that, and an autodidact, ladies and gentlemen, is a person who's self-taught. That I wanted to go somewhere. I wanted to do something where somebody knows something I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So like yesterday, I was taking a quiz. Man, I promise you. But I read all the material.
Uh-huh.
Like, I got this. Man, I took my test or my quiz. I bombed the shit out of that thing.
Uh-oh.
It took me 2 hours. 2 hours to get to 100. Because I didn't like with the class that I'm taking or whatever, you do this thing, and if you get 13 answers right, then you're done. You're good. Dude, it took me 2 hours to do that. Usually it would have only taken me maybe 10, 15 minutes after that.
Wow.
But again, and I was writing up a paper about it, and I'm like, dude, I felt that thing so much. It took me 2 hours to pass this thing. And if I like literally, bro, I didn't go to bed till like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Which class was this?
Sociology.
Okay.
And like again, I love sociology. But the way that they were asking certain questions or whatever, you really have to pay attention to what they're asking. And it's based on a point system. So if you get to, let's say you have 350, right? But
Uh-huh.
then you can bet 50 extra points that you know the answer. So that's what I would do. But
Okay.
if you get it, you had 350, you had 400. If you
Uh-huh.
don't, you had 300. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So like, oh my gosh, dude, oh man, it was horrible. I'm like, God damn, did I read the chapter? And some of it I was like, oh my gosh. And I had to literally sit down, rewrite, reread the stuff, rewrite my notes, reread my notes. And I went back and eventually I
You
passed it. But here's the thing, I could have stopped at 72. I could have stopped at 77. That would have been a grade. I could have stopped at 82. That would have been a grade. It still would have been a B. I could have
right.
stopped at 88. That would have been a B plus. I'd have been good. I could have stopped at 92. That was an A. I kept fucking going. And again, I'm not comparing myself to anybody else. I just know what I'm capable of doing.
Right.
So once you turn that inner gaze from other people to yourself, boy, the things that you will pull out of you is crazy.
It is. And I think that's kind of the game. And I think that's kind of the danger I'm talking about with
Mm-hmm.
this cult of having things where you're sitting there looking so far into other people's lives that you don't take time to live your own. And you don't
That
take
part.
time to move it and push it on your own because you're so busy looking at what they are doing and comparing what they're doing, what you feel like you ain't doing, and all this other stuff. And really, y'all, that's not what this is about. It's not about what they're doing versus what you ain't doing. It's about maximizing your life to live life in the way that you are happy and fulfills you. And I think oftentimes that's the piece that gets lost, right?
Right.
You chasing, you're chasing a lifestyle that is not yours, nor was ever intended for you to live. Um, and you may want it, but eventually, if you handle your business, if you continue to grind on the way you are, you're going to eventually create a semblance of that life if you lock in on it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it may not be 100% a one for one translation of it, but it may be something that you're happy with. And like I said, we talked about it. I've used the quote before, um, it's all right to head out to wonderful. It's Bill Withers. It's all right to head out to wonderful, but sometimes you got to stop and take a look around at good enough and get comfortable with that because sometimes good enough is good enough,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Um, and I think, I mentioned it to people. You've heard me say it on this stream. Comparison is the thief of joy.
Mm-hmm.
It will absolutely rob you of being happy of the small things because you're comparing
Wait,
yourself to other things.
so here's the thing though. I understand where that is, and I get that, but I also
Yeah.
think that we have to be kind of careful with that too, because comparing yourself, I I think that it has a duality.
Okay.
Because on one hand, yeah, like comparing yourself to somebody else and then being hard on yourself of where you are, that's a appetite for destruction there,
Right.
right? But I also think that there could be some positivity that comes in that as well. If that's some stuff that you're reflecting on, where I, you see somebody else doing something, and you like, oh wow, I want to do that. You know what I'm saying? Or man, I wish I had that. Hey, what did you do to get that? You see what I'm saying? Hey, Brian, I think you're gone again. Oh, you're having a stroke. Anyway, so um, and so that's like one of those things or whatever where you have to you're looking at what somebody else has, you're going in internally, and you're like, okay, what do I need to do to go do that? Or what do I need to do to go get that? And that's kind of how I did it um with my Tesla, for instance. I mean, I've been seeing them things. I've been seeing Teslas for since 2012, and at that point, I was homeless. So I was seeing these cars.
Hmm.
I've always loved Tesla as a person. I see this car, I'm like, dude, and it takes 10 years. And one day I take my son to a dental appointment, and I see that in Council Bluffs, Iowa, we had a Tesla. It was not a dealership; it's more like a service place, but that's where you buy your Teslas from. So
Right.
I take my kid, we go in, and I'm like, "Hey, what will it take for me to get one of these cars?" They explain the situation. They say, first and foremost, have you ever driven one? I'm like, no. They said, okay, how about you test drive one first, and then we'll talk about how you can own one. Perfect. Man, I took that car at like 11. I didn't come back till like 3. You know what I'm saying? And like, I knew that this would be my car, right? So I go back, they tell me exactly what to do. I'm like, oh, really? Boom, cool, not a problem. I do everything that they say. I have my car 2, 3 months later. I flew to Kansas City to go pick it up, drove home. I mean, and again, I never put any of that online.
Right.
Never. I never put any of, matter of fact, the only thing I put online was I was reading James Baldwin's book while I was at the motel or a hotel.
Right.
And I was just talking about, yeah, I was just sitting there reading. I was finishing up. I think it was Giovanni's Room. I was finishing that book up, and that was it. You know, that's the only thing I posted. I'm about to buy, and again, I'm in the 70,000 club with that car or whatever because I bought it in 22.
Hmm.
So again, somebody else would have posted, would have went live like, "Hey man, I'm picking up my Tesla, this that and the other." Man, I ain't do all that shit. People was losing their jobs. People couldn't afford to pay rent. People were getting, actually, they didn't get kicked out of their houses because the government stopped that from happening.
Right.
These people just racking up debt. And you think I'm going to post on my shit? Like, hey, I'm over in, I just caught a flight out to Kansas City to go pick up a $70,000 car while you motherfuckers is drowning
Right.
mentally, emotionally, financially, spiritually, physically. No, I'm good. I'm not doing any of that. So even now, I've never put that I bought it. I just bought a motorcycle.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing. Never said shit.
Well, I'll ask you this because I dropped out a little. My browser crashed on me for some reason.
Okay.
Um, even though it was comparing and kind of seeing online stuff, that was for you. You did it because you were driven to do it. It's something
But
that
right,
validated you.
right. But that's my point though, because I want people to understand that comes there's a duality with that. It comes with that double-bladed sword
Mm-hmm.
where it can help you, it can help motivate you, it can help stabilize you, it can help inspire you to do better,
Yeah.
right? To reach those heights, period, regardless of how long it takes. Because sometimes you need inspiration to find that motivation. You need it.
Yeah.
But what happens is when you are inspired by looking at what somebody else has, but you have no motivation to go get it.
Yeah.
You have no drive to go get it. You ain't got no grit or grind to go get that shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like fucking again, I'm always talking about my friend Jessica. Dude, she wanted to be a mother since I met her. Since I met her. All she talked about was being a mom, being a mom, being a mom. How she got goddamn she adopted a, a a young lady. She's possibly going to be adopting two other kids,
Mm-hmm.
and literally got right back into mom mode. You know, so if you can't do it physically, how else can you do it? You know what I'm saying? So again, like, and again, she saw other people doing this thing, but she knew that she wanted to do it as well. It wasn't happening for her yet, physically. So, okay, well, what's the next best thing? There's a bunch of kids out here who need a mother.
Right.
There's a bunch of kids out here who need structure, who need family, who need love and support. I got all that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think that there's again, so that was my point. That's the point I was making about that duality of comparison. Because
Yeah.
I don't think it's always a bad thing, depending on how you use that comparison.
Well, and that's where I'm going with it because I think there's something intrinsic versus that extrinsic kind of thing.
Yeah, for
Where
sure.
because it's something internally, like you have to have a certain awareness and knowledge of yourself
That part.
for the motivation side of things. And what we're seeing is a lot of people don't even have an internal knowledge of what motivates them. They're just operating with this hole inside them. They're
Yeah.
looking to fill that
I
hole
just
inside them.
right.
And
Yeah.
so,
I want to make some money.
yeah.
Like,
And,
okay.
and making money in and of itself can be a great motivation if that's something that you want for something you want to do, right? But when
Right.
the problem becomes is you see somebody else doing it and you never really had any sense of direction or wanting to go or anything, and now all of a sudden that motivation ends up becoming yours, but it's only on a surface level because you can't articulate why you really want this thing. Like with the car I got now, like I've had this car for since 2013. When I first saw it, I saw it on the ad. I saw it on TV. I said, I'm going to have that. I like that. Like the way the new darts are coming out.
Mm.
Kind of a Fiat kind of thing, like an American Fiat. I can rock with that. And I made the decision. That's the shot I was going to take, and I shot it. I ended up getting that car exactly the exact make and model and trim and all the stuff I wanted. And it was cool for a while. It's cool. But then it just became a car, which is fine. Because I'm not driven. Typically, I'm not driven by the fancy cars. I liked having a nice car, and then it was a nice car for a while, and then it became an older car, and I'm like, all right, cool. So now it can get me from point A to point B.
Yeah.
And I'm not motivated to chase. The only reason I'm motivated to get a new car is because this old one is reaching the end of its life cycle.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we over 100. We well over 100,000 miles in this one right now.
Mm.
But I don't want I'm not chasing. One, I hate having a car note. Like I've always hated having a car note. And my biggest motivating factor when I had a car note was get this thing paid off as quickly as possible, and that's what I did. I want to shovel as much money at this thing as quickly as possible, so I don't have to worry about this no more.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the thing I was motivated to do. That's the world I was creating for myself. When I said one day, I feel like I missed opportunity in college. I got talked out of some stuff that I probably could have followed up on, made a career out of. I said, all right, it's not too late. Let's go learn this camera thing. You already know broadcasting. Make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm doing right now.
Right.
And so, but it didn't, and it came from, oh, I see this person, they're on the same mission I am. Let me see what I can kind of borrow from them in their journey and apply to my own. But I think what happens is, and that's where we start getting into that cult of having things where somebody has this emptiness and they don't quite know what the emptiness is, but they start acquiring material things to fill the emptiness, and they never really sit down and linger and say, what is making me feel this whole?
Right.
What's making me feel this way? They don't ever address it in any meaningful way. And so they end up substituting social media and substituting people who seem to be happy. Because that's the thing I got to stress. They appear to be happy on social media. But then you look behind the curtain and they struggling just like everybody else. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the side that we don't necessarily see. And then you start hearing about these influencers that got drug habits, and some of them self-terminate. Like, well, they had everything. Well, I don't think they did. I think they showed you that they had everything, and that was part of the thing. But the other side is when I see people out doing their thing on social media, my little cousins must think I stalked them because I share their stuff all the time because they out doing stuff. Different industries, modeling, singing, sports, I share their stuff all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm like, yeah, I'm your biggest, I'm all the way in Omaha, I'm one of your biggest cheerleaders because I'm always going to push what you're doing. And I try to push other people's stuff as much as possible because that's what gives me, seeing other people get successful, that's what makes me happy. And I discovered that back in the days of, and I was fortunate enough to discover that back in the days when I was working in group homes. Seeing these kids graduate and go on and live their own lives, that was the thing that motivated me. So I moved up through management, seeing my staff get hired to do other things, people seeing them as good hires. Like, oh, that's kind of a boon to me because I'm building them to be the next generation of managers. And I realized that a long time ago. That's the thing that got me out of bed. Is helping other people. But again, helping other people is not the easiest thing to build a business model around all the time because you're so motivated, you're driven, you get so much from helping people that sometimes you don't think about, well, the material side of things. Like, okay, I'm driven to help people. Who's helping me out? Well, I got to help me out. And in order to help them the way I want to help them is there's got to be a fee attached to it. That's the challenge. So again, what we're talking about is a lot of the cult of having things is about convincing you to get things that you don't need, you're only motivated to get things on the internet because somebody else has the thing on the internet. And it's not because you want the thing on the internet. It's because you saw somebody else experiencing joy with said thing, and then you're going to go out and get the thing.
Right.
I think that's also why we have such a weird reaction to people actually genuinely being happy about things or being carefree. There's an entire thing about why, back in the days we didn't have phones in the club, and that's why people could let loose in the club. And now people go out to these things, and it's just a big photography
phone, clicking everything. It's like, bro, that's on the air.
Recording everybody. Nobody's able to dance and have a good time or everything because everybody has to document the experience.
Everybody.
And it just makes the entire, like, I see young people saying, I don't want to go out to the club because all they do is everybody has their phones. Nobody could ever cut loose. And they sitting there like, was it really like that in the 2000s? Yes. Early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, it really was like that. The bubble parties and the bubbles come down and everybody's having a good time. Nobody's recording anything. You ain't got to worry about being viral on the internet.
And if they were recording,
Yeah.
They had a big, huge recording thing, a camera or whatever, so you saw it. So if you didn't want to be on film, just don't be over there. And that's literally all it was.
Right.
Don't be over there.
You
Be
ain't
over
gonna
on the other side.
you ain't gonna go viral because you messed up a dance step or something.
No.
Now that's it. Like you do a funny dance or something, you viral on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. They changing it, they editing your face on it, making you look funny and crazy and stuff. And I couldn't imagine living a life like that.
Right.
And that's why I can see these kids opting out. Like, I don't want to go out and socialize with people so somebody can record me at my having fun. But I think that's the life we created, where people, and maybe that's the actual premise of this show right now. It's talking about not living your life for show or display, not living your life so other people could see what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You let them in at points and times where you feel like letting them in, but that's not your core driving thing. Like I said, I've done before and after videos for projects I was working on, and that's great content that drive, but there's a reason behind it.
Right.
So, all right, let's figure out where we at here, because I gotta go pick up. I gotta go. Yeah, I gotta go pick up this boy here in a second. The role of scarcity and escape. Okay. People spend money on joy because life can be hard. You know, my mom adopted me, and so she adopted me as a single parent. And there were days where she's working 2 jobs and going to school for a master's, right? She likes to have nice things, and so every once in a while she buy herself something nice that she liked. We may not have had the money for it or something she saved up for, but it wasn't a lapse in discipline. It was the motivation to keep going. And so that's fine. And I don't want people to take that away, that I'm saying don't buy things you like. I don't believe in these YouTubers that tell you you can't ever cut off all your friends and forget all vacations and don't go to any weddings and don't do anything, because that's what it takes to be successful.
Right.
I don't think that that's a life for everybody. And I'm going to tell you the reason why I know that's not the life for everybody, because that's what I did early in my career. From basically 21 through almost 30 is what I did. And that's why I was able to get to kind of the top of my little industry, human services, working with kids and families. I was able to hit my goal by the time I was 30. And then I got to my goal and I'm like, wow, this is empty. I got the big office and the big desk in the bay window, and I'm able to got the great view of the cityscape and everything. And this is empty. This doesn't feel like anything. And it's like you worked all the, it was something I wanted to do, but and I enjoyed the day-to-day work of it, but just sitting in the desk and being there, it's like, oh, this is nice. The hedonic adaptation, where you just kind of get used to the new world. And it hit me just like that. Like, this is pretty empty. I got to find something else. So I got to find something else to give that feeling to me. And I found it working with my staff, working with the kids.
Yeah, I found mine reading.
Yeah.
Pulling out a book, sit down, read for a while.
And that's what it is. So I don't like when they talk about, these welfare families, people on food stamps getting candy for their kids. They can't have nice things every once in a while too. It's because you're poor doesn't mean you can't enjoy nice things. Sometimes that's the only thing that keeps you going. Right. And so I think,
and instead of questioning the system that put them in that situation in the first place,
right? Like I will get it. Listen, I'll add a little bit of commentary. We just had somebody basically rig the entire financial market system to make themselves a trillionaire on paper, and evaluate a company that had lost $5 billion last year and has never really turned a profit, and said this is $1 trillion company now. And by virtue of having the biggest stock on the biggest stock, period, you're basically forcing a lot of retail people who own 401ks for retirement and things like that, or ETFs and retirement. You're forcing them to basically buy your stocks if they're automated. If they're automated where they just get all the big cap stocks, they're automatically going to get this stock in their portfolio. And when the valuation drops and corrects, because it will, it's going to, because it's not necessarily real in the first place. What's going to happen is all these people are going to be forced to endure this, and they're your exit liquidity. They're basically going to have to take the haircut on their 401ks. Like it's going to happen pretty quick, because that's what happens to IPOs more times than not. Initial public offering, the price drops and corrects to what it really is, or closer to what the really valuation is, and you let it rebound, and then people ride it back up. There's going to be a lot of people who are retiring who never signed on to have SpaceX in their portfolio that are about to pay for it, and they're about to lose money on it because they never had a choice in it. But like, we rigged the whole system was rigged to create that environment, right? But you mad about people selling food stamps? You mad?
Priorities, man.
Right. And that's the world we're in right now. And so I get it, guys. I get it. I get wanting to spend on something nice just for the sake of it. Because it's sometimes vacation isn't flexing. It's survival. Getting out of town for a little bit is the only thing that's going to keep you sane, keep you in the game.
Right.
Okay. So the issue is, are you choosing joy freely, or are you letting somebody else, are you performing for the camera and pretending like that's joy? And that's what the real crux of the issue is. All right. We talked a little bit about this validation seeking. Okay. The cult of having things is, and I think the engine that drives that is external validation.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what do we got on external validation, Fearless? What's your take on? Because I think you have a good nuanced take. Because sometimes the external validation is valid, and you do want to pursue it. Like, you want to show out for your kids, you want to show out for your family, the ones that matter to you. But I guess, where's the line between seeking external validation that's positive versus where it ends up becoming a corrosive force in your life?
So I think that a lot of it has to do with what is your end result? You know what I mean? Like, what are you actually looking for? Like, what matters most?
Mm-hmm.
Because you got to remember, you're not taking any of this shit with you. So I mean, is it who can collect the most toys before you die? Because there's always going to be somebody richer than you, and there's going to be somebody poorer than you who has more than you. So how do you compete with somebody who doesn't have a fourth of what you have, but is happy? Right?
Right.
And I mean, sometimes, like, I remember when I was homeless. I might sound crazy for saying this, but I got more done being homeless than I've ever gotten done when I bills, this, that, yeah. Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
So much. And not only that, but you're able to live, if that makes any sense. And I know that that's the paradox of homelessness, because you're like, well, you don't have a place to stay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, technically, neither do you. If you think about it, the house that you live in is rented or leased.
Right.
Right? Your house could be picked up and thrown somewhere else. Right? And now your house is gone. Now what? You go find another one. Right? So if you really think about it, you were living in a $200,000 to $400,000 underpass.
Right.
That you keep all your shit in.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying? Like, seriously, Some people said fuck it and just start putting just start staying in storage units.
Mm-hmm.
Such as like the climate control ones. Shit, why not?
Uh,
You know what I'm
mm,
saying? That's 200 and some dollars. Have somebody come in and come get you in the morning.
right.
You know what I'm saying? Boy, you can do all kind of. Boy, you can be in there just chilling. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like seriously, get you one of them climate controlled ones. Who gonna know?
Well, and I think the bigger piece we talk about it is, you know, if it's what you want to do and it allows you to meet your other goals, you do what you got to do. And I oftentimes think that people lose sight of what it looks like because the work in progress is messy. Nobody ever wants to see the work in progress. Nobody ever wants to see how the sausage is made, but they love to put sausage on the grill and cook it up. They want the end result. They just don't want to see what it actually takes. And I think that's where I end up falling down with my content creation because I will show you how the sausage is made. And a lot of people they don't want to see the grimy, gritty details of how bad it, how much it can suck for a little bit. And I don't really want to see that, in terms of chasing your dreams. They don't really want to see that. They just want to see the end result. They want to see, you win the game and victory and all this other stuff. But to me, the stuff I seek out is what's the grimy, get your hands in the dirt kind of stuff that I need to know so I can be prepared. And if staying in the storage unit's the thing that allows you to buy the house that you want, you gotta do what you gotta do.
I mean, or like if you look at Chad Ochocinco,
Uh-huh.
when he got into the NFL, he stayed at the stadium for 2 years. He was making all that money, already a millionaire. He stayed there. He's like, why? Why go out and go buy this and the other?
Yeah.
This is open for us. He stayed there. And when I thought about that, he was like, even having these $45,000 chains and watches,
Mm-hmm.
he looked at the commentary. He said, "What time is it?" Like, it's 12:15. How much did that cost me? It's free to ask somebody what time it is.
Right.
So why am I gonna walk around with a $50,000 watch? Who am I impressing? The females already know how much I make because they broadcast the shit on television.
Right.
Everybody knows how much you make.
Well, and that's the
Like
thing.
everybody.
You look at something like I know there's a couple cats on the 49ers that got a roommate, like because they living in the Bay Area. Because even that NFL salary after taxes, agent fees, league fees, you have to be in the union and stuff like that. So you got dues that come out and everything. That's not enough to live a normal life in San Francisco. And so they got a roommate, and they ain't ashamed of it. Like, I'm in the NFL, but I got to save money too. I can't afford to live here, and they're keeping it real. I got to make things work, make things shake the way I need to. I need to have a roommate. When I used to have to ride the bus to the job, I had to ride the bus to the job. When I had an old beater car, I had a raggedy car driving to the work. That's what you got to do. This is what success looks like. This is what building from the ground up looks like. And I think we don't really, that's the entire premise of trial and error, y'all. We want to show you the messy side of it because that's where the lesson is. That's how you bounce higher. I think we get too caught up in seeing somebody's end result and comparing our lives to their end result. Said it before. You're comparing your regular day-to-day life with somebody's highlights. When you go on social media, when you click Instagram, what are you going to see on Instagram? You're going to see really, really super beautiful people. Many of them have been digitally altered. Get all the blemishes off of them, round this, slim that. That's what happens on Instagram. And they're going to be at the top of your feed. And they're going to tell you could look like that. You can look like them, and you can't. They can tell you you can go on vacation here. You can't tomorrow. You may be able to one day, but do you really want to do that, or would you rather go somewhere else? That's the game that's being played on social media, and that's what the cult of having things. That's being indoctrinated into the cult of having things, where you just want it because you saw somebody else have it, and there's no other reason for wanting it. It didn't spark anything in you. It didn't inspire you to do anything. You were just, I want that thing. And I think
Right.
that the difference between your story with the getting that Tesla is it inspired you.
Mm-hmm.
You were motivated. It inspired you, as opposed to I just want it because I saw such and such driving it and it looked cool.
Yep.
I think DDG, the thing I follow DDG a lot, kind of like his business savvy or whatnot. But one of the things I got stuck on was I think it was Timex came out with some new pieces. I used to be into the watches and stuff, and he was mad because they were taking a lot of the stuff that was on their more high-end luxury stuff and putting it into a regular consumer brand. He's like, well, how's somebody gonna know that my stuff is this if y'all doing this? He was mad about it. I can't wear this anymore.
Yeah.
Because it's not better, it's not special. And my thing is, I'm like, it's a watch, but I'm not motivated by the same things he's motivated by. He's motivated by the exclusivity. That's like a nice watch.
Right. Just like the people who spend, $170,000 to be the first ones to get their Cybertruck,
Mm-hmm.
and they built this gargantuan factory to start pumping these things out, and nobody really wanted any.
Uh-huh.
And now they're sitting around with egg on their face because they ain't nobody trying to buy that shit for no 150,000.
Right.
Ain't nobody trying to buy it for no 100,000. Ain't nobody trying to buy it for no 90. And so they're gonna have to keep rolling back that price, and they're nervous because they were trying to get the game in the fame that they got with the Model Y, with this, because the Model Y is still the best-selling Tesla, period. Right? It has affordability, it has everything, which is what I have. Love that car. But the problem is that just like with that, when it came out in 22, you had to wait, but they also tagged that car where they basically charged an extra $20,000
Yep.
for it as well. And they did the same exact thing with the Cybertruck. So I think that the people who were smart sat back and was like, all right, nope, I'm not going to get this right now. I'm going to wait a few years because I guarantee you that price is going to go down. Now they can't give them goddamn things away.
Well, this is so I'm in the Osmo Pocket 3 Facebook community.
Okay.
And it's coming out that there's every other post on there for the last 3.5 years. They've been Osmo 4. When's the Pocket 4 coming out? When's the Pocket 4 coming out? When's the Pocket 4 coming out? The new Pocket 4. I just saw the stats. Blah blah blah. They had saw some fake video on YouTube about it.
Yeah.
And then the news really dropped. Like they're dropping the Osmo Pocket 4, and people like, are you gonna get it? Are you gonna get it? And I'm like, I never buy the first round of tech. I never buy the first batch.
Right.
I never buy the ones that are freshly made from the. I don't like pre-orders. I don't want the first round because that's typically where they do all the beta testing. That's where they do all the bug testing. Like in that first wave of tech that rolls out, when you get the first round of PlayStations, like when the PlayStation 6 drops, if you buy a PlayStation 6, when it first drops, you're going to have issues. Xbox did the same thing. Cameras are notorious for that.
No, even Grand Theft Auto 6 right now, there are people playing it right now, getting all the bugs and stuff out of it. So people are like, well, that game's not coming out until November. No, that game's already out now.
Yeah.
There's just a certain amount of people getting.
And at least they're actually bug testing it. I'm talking about they ship it and sell it, and then the first units that hit the consumer market are basically they're basically asking you to debug their hardware. And I told them that. I told people that. I said, don't run out and buy this when it first drops. Wait a couple months, maybe about 6 months. If you really don't need one, don't buy one. Because I had people saying, I bought an Osmo Pocket, so now how do I make money with this thing? You behind the game, bro. You should already figured, like, you already should have had, okay, I have a plan to make money. Now I need the Osmo Pocket to do it. Now you done put in $800 and now you don't have any idea how to start a video business. You didn't put any thought behind it. But what I'm saying is people ran out and bought this Osmo Pocket 4, and guess what I'm seeing in there? It was dead on arrival. The thing didn't charge up. The tracking is weird. The focus is weird. The firmware needs to be updated. All the problems that they normally have in the first batch of cameras. We done told you about it. Don't buy it. Don't buy that first batch of cameras. Don't buy that first any electronic equipment. Don't buy the first round of it. I don't care. I hype you hard for it. Wait a cycle or two. Wait a quarter or two before you take the plunge, because that first round, the first thing they ship out to the stores are the ones that they want people to complain about, because that's where they have all the bugs. Now they're seeing what it look. They're getting it tested on a mass scale
in real time.
And they're taking that data to iterate and improve on the next one. I remember when the PS3 came out, that was a big thing with the PS3.
Was it?
The PS3 was jacked. The original PS3 was jacked. And they iterated it and shrunk it and made it a lot, and all the different, 60 gigabytes and all these other different variations of it. And they finally landed on a consumer one that sold. PS4 kind of went through the same life cycle. I know PS5 did too, because there's some day one bugs on PS5 too. And so they're beta testing this stuff. And I think that Cult of Having thing says I have to buy it fresh and new when it comes off. No, you don't. You don't want it. The defective ones always come out in the first batch. And so that's what it is. And so I think that falls into it. It primes you to be a day one consumer of said product. And there are very few things I will buy. I don't even go to restaurants in the first month.
Like new ones?
My wife put me onto that one. She used to do food service back in college and stuff. You never want to go to a restaurant in his first couple of months, because that's where they're testing out. That's where they're getting rid of all the workflow bugs that are happening. We broke that rule one time when Cheesecake Factory came to Omaha. Never again. One of the worst restaurant experiences I've ever had, and it didn't have anything to do with the service. It had a little bit to do with the service, but dude brought me a glass of water. There were like huge black spots and chunks of something floating around in the bottom of the water. I said, can you bring me another water? He brought me another one. There's still huge chunks of stuff floating in it. And he asked me if, well, can I get you a Coke instead? Well, so I can't see the stuff floating in it?
Yeah.
You guys need to clean your ice machine, because that's what this is coming from. Ice is dirty. Dump out your ice machine, rinse it out. But they couldn't do it because they were fully serviced. They had a full restaurant of people. They couldn't change their ice. And then the waiter didn't know the menu enough. So I ordered something. He brought me something completely different and then tried to convince me that this was the thing I ordered.
Oh, wow.
I said, nah, bro, I didn't order this, man. You brought me. I've been out to the one in Kansas City, bro. This what you brought me is this on the menu. This is what I ordered. And it's all because it was new. He was brand new at it. The service was brand new. The manager was brand new. The equipment's brand new. And now we are the guinea pigs so that they can get their staff trained.
Okay.
Ooh, I ain't doing that. I ain't doing that no more. I'm too old for that. Like, I don't want to pay. I don't want to pay to be your on OJT. I get it though. So
what is OJT? What is that?
On job training. On the job training. So that's what I got. Fearless, I got to run. If you want to continue on, and if you want to continue on. All right.
I have a bunch of papers to do, so.
All right, y'all. So then we wrapping this up. I don't know if we're coming back to this one. I think we got pretty much done. Well, shoot, we didn't get. I think we got pretty much done what we had to say. We'll be back at you next week with something else, another trial and error thing. I might go back in the lab. I might go back in the lab and see if there's some old topics that we can revisit, just to orient. concept.
Did you go through Hanya's stuff and delete them?
I have not done that yet. I
Yeah,
got
just delete her stuff off.
okay. All
Because
right.
all of her stuff is saved in her YouTube account, so she's fine.
Okay. Then I'll do that when I get a second here. But
Okay.
I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up. We'll talk to you guys next week. Trial and Errors, Brian and Fearless.
See ya.